teen guilty of second-degree murder in the road rage beating death of a 64-year-old grandfather.
I will never see my son again, see his beautiful blue eyes, hear him laugh.
You will never know the pain that my family endured that day as my grandchildren were told they would never see their father again.
18 years old, gunned down because somebody didn't want her to merge into a lane of traffic.
Breathe slow, baby, yeah.
So I feel like it is worth mentioning that this incident happened several years ago when I was in my very early 20s. And at the time, I was a little bit more wild and rough and tough. And I would often make decisions that were reckless, that looking back, I can't even comprehend what I was thinking. With that said, it was summertime and I was driving and I was with my best friend Shayna, and at the time her and I were always getting into some kind of trouble. We just always seemed to escalate each other. So we're coming to an intersection and I needed to turn left, but I was in the straight lane and there was a little bit of room where I could stick the front of my car into the gap. I was kind of blocking off the people in that lane so that when the light turned green, I could try to sneak in there. So I successfully creeped in there and then I turned my blinker on. And that's when all hell broke loose. So the next person whom I would be cutting off was aggressively upset and they were not shy about it. And I had an attitude like, try me, I don't give a, like, let me in, I need to get over, F you. At this point, the whole front of my car was in that lane, so there was no way anyone was gonna be able to not let me through. So light turns green, I go, and the person behind me starts honking and starts following me to the point where when I looked in my rear view mirror, all I could see was their car. Like I couldn't see anything else. And we're driving down a pretty busy street and this person is not backing off to the point where it's obnoxious and I'm getting irritated and Shayna's getting irritated. At this point, Shayna and I both start to get a huge case of the ISBs. Like, I'm sorry, but this is dangerous. And then Shayna's like, I'm sorry, but they need to back off. Finally, I'm just like, what the f ever? And I pull over. And immediately the car races right past me and then pulls right over in front of me several yards up the street. And back in the day, I was quite the fighter. I was not someone to back down and I was not afraid to fight. And I guess I just was feeling extra bold. So immediately when they pulled over, Shayna and I almost simultaneously rushed out of my car, slammed the door, and both kind of like put our hands on our hip and was like, what's up? And almost at the same time, the lady who was in the other car did the exact same thing. So this woman was significantly smaller than me, but also way older than me, probably in her early 40s. She was a black woman with short hair, and it was really obvious that she was more of a masculine type. So even though she was smaller than me, she still seemed like she could pack a punch. Like she talked like a man, dressed like a man, carried herself in a more masculine way. And I'm not really sure what it's like elsewhere, but if you're from Portland, this type of woman is average. So at this point, we are both yelling at each other from a distance, but also neither one of us is hesitating and we're walking towards each other, yelling. The words that we're using can only be described as talking shit. It's hard for me to even describe what I was thinking because looking back, I am like, what the were you thinking? I guess I was sizing her up. I had definitely decided that, like I said, she could pack a punch. So I would definitely need to overpower her before she could, hit me in my face. I don't think I even thought whether or not she had a weapon because she was wearing baggy jeans and a baggy t-shirt. I guess I just didn't even think about if she had a weapon or not. I also felt stronger because Shayna was with me and I knew if anything happened that she would have my back. But at the same time, as I was walking towards this woman, Shayna was still standing by the passenger door of my car, so she wasn't coming with me. So again, we are screaming back and forth at each other. And even though we're getting closer and closer to each other, the volume of our yelling is not getting any quieter. So finally, we are at the point where we're face to face. One of us is bound to say, "Get the f out of my face," where the other one will respond with a shove, and then, you know, all hell will break loose. So I'm anticipating this scenario, which seems to be really common, at least in my experience. So her and I are still yelling back and forth at each other without taking a breath. I'm waiting for one of us to put her hands on the other one so she can go down. And then out of nowhere, she yells, "My mom just died." Immediately, I responded, "I'm sorry." And then she's just crying. And I reach out and we just start hugging. And I'm tearing up and I'm saying, I am really sorry. I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry. We hug for a while and then I look over at Shayna and Shayna's just like, "What is going on?" And then we both start walking towards our own cars and we're still yelling towards each other. "I really am sorry. I hope you feel better. I'm so sorry. You're going to get through this." And she's crying. And at the time, yeah, it was really crazy. You know, there was a lot of adrenaline and it was just a weird situation where you're so angry with somebody that you are not only willing to, but wanting to cause them physical pain and you're willing to hurt them. And it's really weird going from that feeling to instantly feeling an enormous amount of compassion and heartache for them. And you hate that they're in pain. So looking back, I recently was thinking about this whole situation and just thinking about how, I mean, it's obviously really cliche to say, but you never know what somebody is going through. So it's best just to not ascribe intent to everything that's happening around you. So not assume that people are doing something to cause you problems and instead just think they're probably going through something that's causing them to be so uncomfortable and upset.
The people who are the most aggressive, the people who are filled with rage, the ones who are cruel and hurtful, they either annoy you or they make you afraid. Those are the ones who are tainted, who right from the start have been broken. At one point, they were made to feel so ashamed, now they dare not bear vulnerable emotions. And so what's hidden within them festers like magma, burning inside the thick shell that contains it, every so often overflowing, oozing sticky, molten red blankets of hatred. The pressure they feel they've become used to, but that doesn't change how badly they suffer. Most will live a lifetime boiling and bubbling, only to become darker and tougher. They are unaware of what's hidden inside them. To even acknowledge it to them, they abhor. And they will teach this curse to the younger generation in the same way they once learned it before.
A way to avoid becoming this type of person, even if you are him today, is by being uncomfortably honest, saying words you should but can't say. Like, "I'm heartbroken, I'm sorry, I'm hurting, I'm grateful, I'm jealous, I'm wrong. I want you to know that I love you. I just want to know I belong."